So I had a situation maybe 5 or 6 years into my teaching career where I was teaching American literature to a group of students, and we were reading Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. It's a fantastic book. And I had a student who in my book, this is a pseudonym. Bridget was a real name, but this student's name is a pseudonym. We'll call her Rebecca, I think, in the book. And Rebecca was a hard student because she was incredibly bright and like very, very talented, but she was really good at not leaning into her best abilities and like often would kind of like co-opt the room or like, basically like I had an experience where like when she wasn't there, the classroom tended to run better than when she was there. So I would even be relieved sometimes when she didn't show up. On one particular day, and I for the most part, I tried to ride the wave and acknowledge her good moments and like, not lean in too much to the stuff that wasn't going so well. But on one particular day, she was kind of like maybe struck by a guy in the class and, like into him and flirting. And we're trying to read Song of Solomon, which is an incredible book. And Toni Morrison's an unbelievable author. And I felt like whatever Rebecca was doing in this moment was really taking away, not just like, it's one thing is like Rebecca's experience, but like the other thing is like everybody's experience, right? Like acknowledging Toni Morrison and all the other students in the room who really could have gotten a lot out of this. So can I swear on your show, by the way? Because I kind of have to tell this story. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So I looked over at her because it was just, the flirting or whatever was going on. And I said, Rebecca, can I ask you a question? I said, like, can we kind of like get with the program right now? Or like, what's going on? Like, I kind of just, acknowledged that there was something going on that had nothing to do with what we were doing. Right. And I really caught her off guard. And I think she got really agitated and like instantaneously, almost like without any thought, she stood up from her desk and she just looks at me and she goes,
oh, wow.
And it just like, dead silent classroom, like you could hear a pin drop, standing right there. And then she's looking at me, I'm looking at her. The rest of the class is like, what is going to happen right now? Like, where is this going? And then she winds up, she walks over to the door. She kicks the trash can, slams the door, goes out into the hallway and kind of disappears. And like, I'm standing there now in front of 17 other students. Right. And they're kind of wondering like, what is he going to, what's his next move right here, right? So this was a moment, like, to just be 100% honest, I'm trying to, kind of exercise some humility right here. Like a lot of stuff that I write about in the book, I had no idea how to solve when it was happening. Like I had to reflect on it. Some of it took years to process, right? Like a lot of things, I call the book Teaching in the Riptide because some moments we are literally pulled into a dynamic where it is more powerful than our capacity for dealing with it. And I believe in these moments, like sometimes you're actually not going to learn how to deal with that situation until it's over and you have time to reflect. But like one of the things that seemed very important to me was not to I know this sounds crazy because of what she just did, but I didn't want to overreact in front of the rest of the students because I felt like in a way, my strongest move was to not take it, like as you're saying, to not take it personally and to kind of sit in the intense ambiguity of it. And then try to like pivot back into working with the students. At the same time, I did have to be acutely aware that there was a student who was very angry, who was now roaming the hall. So I went out and I checked in. I told somebody from our guidance department. But then what I wound up doing is I let a couple of days pass before meeting with Rebecca. And so I met with Rebecca and a guidance counselor and I think, a head of one of our programs. And we kind of talked it through. And I think one of the things that I want to say is that by the time we met, because I didn't meet her rage with a counter rage. Right. By the time we met, she was feeling really apologetic and embarrassed about what had happened. And
because she has to keep coming back to class after having that outburst.
And a lot of the corrective measures that I think I think as leaders, educational leaders and teachers, and like we want to correct and we want to teach, but sometimes I think we got to know that our students are going to learn what we don't need to teach them sometimes. Sometimes the lesson is like they'll learn that lesson on their own, as long as we show them a certain type of dignity and grace. And like, obviously, sometimes you have to hold people accountable. But like in that case, I didn't have to tell her that what she did was really inappropriate. It was pretty obvious, right? So I think that, nothing like that ever happened again with that particular student. I'm not going to say she was perfect. She definitely wasn't perfect for the rest of the year. But in some ways, I think, again, like, because kind of like, I know I'm telling some big, dramatic stories today, but like, with the neo-Nazi student, like something about me not overreacting to the scenario allowed for some type of like reframing of the relationship on the student's behalf. because I wasn't going to respond to them just like any other like angry adult.
Well, that's the thing is like, you know, by choosing not to meet the rage with rage or pour kerosene on the fire.
Yep.
All the other students learned a lesson too, which is, you know,
Yes.
if we act crazy, it's not going to
Yep.
be met with crazy, right? So
100%.
I think what I learned about myself in the 30-second story I shared way earlier in the pod is that it's really entertaining for students, whether it's middle school or high school, whatever, to watch an adult that's supposed to be leading the classroom
flip out,
lose it, right?
100%. Yeah,
that's
100%.
really funny.
It
and
is.
I don't think that enough educators realize that they're the punchline. And if you just don't react, it takes all the power away from students.
Yeah.
And students who wanted you to be a punchline now figure out, well, all right, that's not fun anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that idea.
So
that's real. I love the way you said that. Yeah. Is that like, do you say that often?
No, I should. And thanks for naming it, because it's like when people reflect back, oh, that was a cool thing. I should be like, oh, yeah.
Well, it's interesting too, because like,
let's make some shirts for teachers. You are the punchline.
Well, yeah, but what's interesting too is like maybe you can be the punchline behind closed doors, like with a colleague. You talk about it, like you know, you process it with a colleague, or like if you have a partner at home, or boyfriend, girlfriend, or like, you know, a friend, like, but like in that moment, I think that's exactly right. What they're looking, and I don't even think it's conscious. I think it's pretty unconscious, but they like a teacher, an educator to get unseated, out of control. And I think in some ways, for some of them, like it can reflect the ways in which they're feeling off balance or out of control. So if they can pull you into that, it's empowering for them in kind of a perverse way. And then to your point, if you have the equanimity to resist, you know, even if you're feeling it, that's a pretty powerful lesson.